Hello everybody, Gisele Grenier here. In this video lesson, we're going to be two challenges. So the technique I'm going to show you is how to add texture to your artwork without using any texture products. The challenge, so I'm teaching you a technique and a challenge. The challenge is to create something really creative and inspirational using only black and white. So black and white art, although can be very modern, it can be kind of boring if used in abundance. But we're going to create something really simple. And for the texture, we're going to be using paper. So I'm going to go over it now to keep it really simple and fast for you guys. You're going to do it on an artist trading card, 2.5 by 3.5. You can use it. You can create yours on any size stock that you want. All right. So for the products, I'm going to be using DecoArt media. White gesso, black gesso. I'm going to be using the matte medium as the glue. And I'm going to be creating my black. I'm not using carbon black because it's too flat. I'm going to be creating my black as chromatic black using burnt sienna, ultramarine blue, and quinacridone burnt orange with the fluid acrylics. And then I'm going to accent the quote with the DecoArt matte metallics charcoal. Although I would love to have mixed my own. This is kind of a medium, kind of a flat black, so it's not too bad. All right, so if you don't have matte metallics, don't worry about it. Just use black paint. If you don't have the matte medium, use some type of glue that doesn't turn yellow. And if you don't have any gesso, use white and black paint. I'm using the gesso because I want it to be, I want it to have kind of like a soft texture. I was thinking about using the chalky gesso, but that stuff's too thin. I like the thickness of this. So I've got packaging from a protein bar, and the problem with this packaging, because it's got a shiny finish to it, you can take some light sandpaper, wear a mask, and I would say probably maybe about 400 grit to 600 grit, and just sand it up just to get rid of that shine. And then what you're going to do is you're going to apply some gesso. Now, we're going to start off with white gesso. The black gesso is actually for the step after this. So I'm going to take my brush. Now look how thick this stuff is. I let this particular gesso, it took about a day, and I just keep stirring it to evaporate some of the moisture to really get this thick. And I get this thick specifically for the texture. Now see how I painted that on? It's going to dry like that. And I'm just going to get some nice lines, because when I put the black gesso on after this, I'm going to, these brush strokes are going to show through, but in a much more subtle way. And if you don't have the gesso, just use black paint. And I like the gesso because it has a matte finish to it. So if you only have black and white paint that's really shiny, but you want a matte finish, you'll have to put like a matte varnish on it or the matte medium just to get rid of some of that shine. I heard some people say they use hairspray. For DIY stuff, for your own art, yeah, but don't do that if you're giving stuff away, because you don't know what the long-term effects are of using hairspray on art products. Especially if you're going to be selling it. Okay, so I'm just going to take that brush, put it in water, and we have to let that dry. And while that's drying, I'm going to go over the other supplies. Oh, so here's the difference of using a matte gesso versus black paint. So it's up to you, the finish you want. So for the paper, better move that so I don't get that in there. So for the paper, I've got bubble wrap, and I'm going to use that just before the gesso dries. I've got the bubble wrap, and I'm going to be layering the paper. So we're going to start off, basically our card's going to be more on the black side, and then we're going to create a layer of visual texture, and I'm going to be using this stripe paper. This is from Sephora. This is the packaging that they were, at the time that when I bought my makeup, this is what they were putting in their bags. I don't know if they still do it. Haven't been there in a couple of years, but I have an abundance of this stuff. And then the DecoArt, the decoupage paper, the tribal line. There's a beautiful, like almost like I don't know if you can see that textured linen. That's really, really pretty. Going to use that for the black. And then the next layer is I'm going to use music paper, which we're going to paint. We're going to tear that up into the shape of a heart. I already have it drawn out. And I'm going to paint that. And then the quote, you can't use up creativity. The more you use, the more you have, from Maya Angelou. So that's going to be the quote. All right. So let's bring that out. Okay, that's almost dry. So I'm going to take the bubble wrap with the bumple sides down. Just going to push that on there. Don't slide the bubble wrap, just push it on. And then lift it off. And what I'm left with, you can see that some of that bubble, where did it go? Come on. There we go. You see some of those bumps in there. And then if you have something else, what you can do is you can take that and just so you use everything up. Like that. So that's something else you can use later on down the road. All right, let's put that aside. Oh, that's not dry yet. So we have to, this has to dry because then we're going to do the black gesso on top of that, and we could do it with the bubble wrap, or we can just paint it. And I'm going to probably try a combination of both because what we're doing now is we're using the texture of the paint or the texture of the gesso to create our dimension. Okay, so now I'm going to get some gesso. You can tell how often I use this gesso, eh? I'll just take it right out of the lid. So I want this to be fairly dry. So, really? I'm going to get some paper towel. This is the same brush I was using. Just going to get rid of the excess. Let's see what we've got here. Oh, perfect. So I won't need to use the bubble wrap. So what this is doing is just the paint or the gesso is just grabbing the top ridges of the white gesso. Now you can imagine if you were to use too much paint, what would happen? It would sink all inside. Now you got to make sure your brush is not super dry and not super wet. Actually, I'm going to demonstrate. If I put the paper here. Let me put this on first, and I'm going to show you what happens if you put too much paint on. That's what happens if you put too much paint on. There we go. There's going to be paper covering this. So that's what happens. Now, if you like that effect, no problem. No problem. And I'm just going to do this in gentle layers. There's water coming out of this now. The water was sitting up here, now it's coming down. If you like this light texture, start in the bottom, in the middle, because there's paper there, and then kind of fade your way out to the sides. And I can see where the lines were on the brush, so I'm going to go the opposite direction. And as you start doing this very gently, there's still, let me just, I think I might have hit the paper towel where there was, it was damp. And even like this here, see what I'm doing here? You could use this paper towel for the, like this part here in art as well. There we go. And the more layers you do this, you're just building up and building up and building up the pattern. Now, one nice thing to do is you can build up a whole bunch of these cards using this technique. Do it in batches. That way you have it ready. Now let's take some dried paint and let's just go in from the outside. going to create that border that we love so much, or that I love so much. I'm going out in. That's creating that nice edge. Oops, a little bit of a spread out just a little bit much there. That's okay. I've got I put together a binder. I get emails, comments on YouTube, comments on Facebook, and messages of people saying, "Oh, how do I do this? How do I do that?" I put everything into a binder because I had everything in a box. It's a 3-inch binder. It's great that you guys are reaching out for asking those questions. I just didn't realize there were that many in a box. Kind of everything's in scrap paper and all that stuff, and yeah. And I've got a video coming up about the differences between masks and stencils. So that you'll have to stay tuned for that one. Now, I know this looks like it's taking a long time. I'm really building this up gradually because if I don't have enough paint, I can always add more. But if I have too much paint, then it's a bugger to take it away. Take your time. Enjoy the process. Now I'm just going to darken the corners a little bit. Remember, we're using black and white only, so we have to make this look creative, because that's part of the challenge. Creative and inspiring. Well, the inspirational part is the quote. I flippin' love that. Love that, love that. Okay, cover that up. Like I said, you can use paint if you want. I just wanted a matte finish to it. And I'm going to put that in here. All right. Baby wipe. I really have to get a new no-stick stencil. Or no-stick stencil. No-stick matte. And same thing with this, as I'm cleaning this up, I could take this, open it up. I'm going to get paint all over my hands. But open it up. And I can use that in artwork as well. Now what I would do, if I was going to use parts of this in artwork, is you let this dry, then you rinse it under cool water, and that's going to get rid of whatever the product is in here for the baby wipe. The paint will stay intact, but what we don't want is the stuff that's in the baby wipe that keeps the baby's bum soft. We don't want that blending in with our paint because we don't know what will happen. So put that aside. Alrighty. And the paper towel, that can go in a box and whatever you want to do with it. That takes care of that. Now this is the easy part coming up. Let me get rid of that, get rid of that. So now we're going to do, we have to take our striped paper. So let me, now you can basically, you know, just kind of piece like that, tear it, and I want it the size of the card, not the full size, but make some patterns. See, that's a little tall, so I'm going to shorten that up a little bit. And paper has grain, so the grain on this paper, it tears very easily this way, but doesn't tear so easily this way. See how it gets all crooked? So keep that in mind when you're tearing. Like that. So I'm going to crinkle this up. That's going to add some texture. I'm going to open it up. And get our matte medium. I will tell you right now, the drying time is the worst part of this project. Oh, I'm going to go over here. And use a soft brush for this, especially if you're using tissue paper, because it will tear if you're not careful. And that's dry, so I'm going to put some matte medium on the card. Oh, now while I'm doing this, because I hate the awkward silence, I am thinking about doing a miniature journal project. I'm gonna push the paper in just to boost up that texture. Where it's like, let me just show you. Oh, little journal project like this, and there's one project per page, so it's four per spread, and then at the end do a giveaway on that. The only thing I don't know is the theme of the journal. So if you guys have any ideas for the theme for this particular project, I would love to get some suggestions. I wasn't paying attention. I flattened out the paper by accident. So I've got some wrinkles, but not too many. Okay. And we'll still need that. Now, while that's drying, let's do the quote. Gonna take the metallic. Now we're gonna use the same technique as we did. Where's my brush? We're gonna use the same technique. Seriously? Sorry, I'm not ready. There we go. We're gonna use the same technique as we did for the outside of the card, but we're gonna do it with the metallic paint. And I've got a tiny little brush. You can use a, well, first let me see this. Oh, hang on a second. Yeah, this should work. You can use a little sponge if you want. This paper's too thin for this. Yeah, this paper is too thin. Okay, let me, oh, darn. I don't have, I am really sorry. I wasn't prepared. I'm going to take some kitchen wipe. My sponges, I have to put my sponges on a high shelf because of Chaos. She takes them and runs away with them. So I'm going to dip my finger in there. There we go. Because this paper is really thin. I could have taken a cardstock and then hand stamped it, but I didn't want to take away from the technique of how to create texture with the paper. Because what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to rip the edges, and with a cardstock it might be a little bit difficult. Now I'm going to be using a little tool. You can use scissors. Joe asked me not to do it with scissors because I tend to be accident prone. No, not 10. I am accident prone. You should see how scared out of his pants he is when I make my jewelry on the lathe. We're talking carbide cutting tools, and he goes as white as a ghost. So with that dried, and I've got this little, I think this is, yeah, Tim Holtz. You can use a knife, but I'm just going to go here, and I'm just going to rub this. And what this does is it kind of grunges up the edges a little bit. Like I said, you can use scissors, but honestly, this is easier. I did do this last year with an X-Acto knife, and I did cut myself. So whatever method you use, you got your public service announcement. It's not going to make that much, what I'm doing is not going to make that much of a difference. It's just going to be just enough texture on the edges. It breaks up the paint. There we go. Are you dry yet? Nope. Okay, so while we're doing that, now that's waiting to dry. No, can't. I was going to use the liquid glass on that to really make that stand out, but the whole thing is texture without products. That would have been really, really cool. That would have been so cool. Or even crackle paste, the crackle glaze. Oh, that would have been so cool. But no, 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 no. Okay, we got to make the heart. So I've got the heart already drawn out. But so what it is about the size, and then I'm going to tear it. And I want to tear it upwards so we get the frayed edge. If you tear it the other way, your edge will be much cleaner. And don't worry about having a perfectly torn piece. Just get something done. This is art. The way that I like making my art is I don't want it to look like it came off an assembly line. That's not me. If you're looking for hyperrealism, then click off. That meant to be click off the video. Oh, my little heart's broken. There we go. This is my vice, my outlet for being just to be creative. Just there we go. Okay, so we're going to take this and I'm going to let's see. Let's try, I'm going to try it with the gesso. I'm going to try it with the gesso. Where's that little brush I was using with the metallic paint? I'm going to try this. So I will cleaned out the brush and I'm just going to load it with the gesso, wipe it on the paper towel, and I just want to apply a layer of the gesso to the music paper, just basically to cut down on the music notes. So again, using the gesso for some texture. Now where there's no music notes, I can come in with a bit of thicker gesso. I can also do the same technique as I did before, apply the gesso and then press the bubble wrap. That might be kind of cool. Yeah, let's try that. I have to work fast. This is also going to make the heart just a little bit thicker, which is fine. Oh, I should have checked the bubbles. Some of these are broken. Not bad. I do have a few little dots in there. That's okay. Take away some of that gesso. It's a little too much. And now we're losing the bubble wrap stuff. That's fine. So number 3 there. There we go. And so that takes care of that. Let's see, where are we now? So now we're going to take our black paper, while that dries, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to tear that up. I'm going to take a piece like this. So the paper came from the Victorian Romance line, and the paper came with a tribal line. I was thinking about using the tribal paper like that. That's really cool. But black and white. Black and white. Crumple that up. The nice thing is that the back of this paper is white, so if the edges crinkle and curl, that's fine. So crinkling it, which is where I messed up on this one. Now what we want to do is we want to have an odd shape. And I want it to be more long. And all these little bits you can keep as well. medium. On the back of this paper and some on here as well. Now every time you add a layer of the matte medium, it strengthens your pieces. The key is you want to try to let each layer dry. Now because I'm doing this as a tutorial, I'm not too worried about it, but if you're selling your piece, then yeah, you need to let this dry. And wash your hands after, because this stuff really sticks. I wonder if I could have done it like this too. Yeah, I could have. Not liking the shape of that. I don't want to cover up that striped paper. Here we go. Now crinkle the dickens out of this. And then more matte medium. Especially over the edges. Now I didn't paint the edges of this because I wanted it to be white. Make sure the edges are really sealed. You can still have the texture and then be sealed. All right, that takes care of that. So we've got that, and then we have our heart. Might as well do the heart right now while that's wet. And thinking, I want that to be right there. There we go, right there. So you can see all the layers of the paper. We're building up texture. You can build this and build this and build this and build this up as many times as you want. And then I'm going to take the quote. I missed a step. I missed a step. Wait a minute. Did I miss a step? I was going to do the card in reverse. Okay, you know what? We'll do another one. We're going to do another one. I have notes as to make sure I cover everything, and it was supposed to be where the card was going to be. It was in reverse, because now we have a white quote on a white heart. Okay, that's okay. So what I'll do is I'll make another one. I'll just do it. No explanation or whatever. You'll see it's the exact same technique. I'm just going to go ahead and do it, and then I'll do it in. I'll speed up the video, put some music on, and you'll see. Yeah, I did this backwards. Okay, no biggie, no biggie, no biggie. All right, so let me clean. But anyways, that's done. Let me clean this up and let me do it now the right way. All right, so I'm going to use up this card. I'm going to save some time. You know the technique. I'm just going to basically get this card with some texture on here. I want it primarily more white, so when I do the edges with the black, it'll stand out a little bit more. Because the bubble wrap will still show through from when I did the original demonstration. Let's just get more in there. I cannot believe I did the other one backwards. Well, I sort of did it backwards. I have another card that I did that I was following, but yeah, I was trying to get this to be a video that was going to be under 20 minutes, and now it's going to end up being like an hour. I apologize. Okay, gonna let that dry. While that's drying, let's made up a mixture here. I took ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, quinacridone burnt orange, and created a chromatic black that's a bit more on the violet side. I did not want this to be black. Oops. I'm just going to overlap the colors, make it more blue. And then we'll take a baby wipe and wipe that off. Ah, nice. So when you use a damp baby wipe, you get that look. I'll put that over there to dry. Get off. Okay. And I'm going to turn the camera off now because I'm going to sneeze. Son of a gun. Oh, now I'm going to use up that leftover chromatic black. And work the edges. I don't want any white on that side. And I like doing this as well when the paint's a little bit tacky. That way it won't run down the side of the card. Okay, so that's that. And then bristle brush. That should be enough. Ooh, that's more brown. Hang on, let me grab some gesso. There we go. I know you can't see. We just want this to be just a little bit. I also said I was going to speed up the video, but I want to do this in real time. Other than preparing, like cutting the paper already, I want to do this in real time. Minus the sneeze. That I just can't leave on camera. It's just not right. We'll see how long this actually takes. Okay. That. Now the gluing. Oh, am I gonna... No, I'm not gonna... I don't think I'm gonna edge that. And... matte medium. The good thing about the gesso, especially the DecoArt Media Gesso and the Traditions, is that it's a thicker body gesso, so less moisture. It doesn't take as long to dry. Where the like the chalky gesso, the DecoArt chalky gesso, the white or the black, I'm talking too fast, has a lot of moisture in it to make it thinner, so it does take a little bit more time to dry. So where I went backwards on the other one is I did the stripe paper first. Now I want to do the black paper first. And we'll put that on there. If you tear the paper a little bit larger than it needs to be, so when it crinkles up, it fits nicely. And the decoupage paper is a much thicker paper. It's substantial. It's substantial. It's not like thin, cheap tissue paper. Doesn't tear easy. Now I want the wrinkles to be closer out to the edges because the heart's going to cover this. There we go. You know what? I got to do another project of it like this with the crackle glaze on top of this paper. That would look amazing. Or the way Shannon says on Kim's Convenience, it got amaze balls. Amaze balls, that's just weird. I grew up in a generation that you just didn't talk like that. All right, now this I'm gonna leave the way it is. I'm not gonna wrinkle this one up, but basically the premise of using paper for texture, you've got the stripes, you've got wrinkles. Oh, we have a little bit of wrinkle there, so you can really do a lot with it. And then the heart. Layering the mediums wet will allow me to move it around if I need to. Right there. So the striped paper I probably could have made even more white because it's the black from underneath shows through. So this mistake I made is proof that it doesn't have to take long to create a project. No one can walk backwards into the future. There we go. Okay, time check. How long did that take? I have no idea because I've got, what, maybe 6 minutes, 7 minutes? I don't know. We'll have to wait to see what that looks like dry. Let's take that out. That one. And so that's the first one. That's the second one. And this is one that I was following. Yeah, so we got 3 here. So the difference is white gesso, black texture, striped black, white, white. White gesso, no, black gesso, white paint, stripe, black, dark, white. And then this one here is on black stock, white gesso, then the edging, white gesso, black stripe, dark white. And if I were to do a fourth one, this striped paper, I probably would gesso that so there's more contrast between these two pieces. My favorite out of all of them is the very first one we did, because the heart really stands out. But then there's still enough contrast because we did the edging on that one. So there's 3 versions that you can take. So what I want you to do is I want you to grab some packet, and I can guarantee you have in your stash, in your house somewhere, what you need to do this. So I want you to get some cardstock, cut it 2.5 by 3.5, cut it postcard size, cut it a book. I don't care what size you cut it. It doesn't matter. So take a piece of packaging. Then I want you to either gesso it or paint it, white or black. Then I want you to take the opposite value. So if you're painting it white, you're going to take black to dry brush. Then you're going to take a lighter paper, then a darker paper, then a lighter paper, then the quote. So light, dark, light, dark, light, dark. So I want you to create a piece. And with me doing the video and talking and even me screwing up, okay, it doesn't take long to do this. So that's my challenge to you, is to use paper as a texture and to do it black and white only, to be creative and inspiring. So find a quote, look up fortune cookie quotes on the internet and create a piece. And what I want you to do is, in the Facebook group, I want you to post a picture of your piece there and an honest timeline of how long it took you to make, not including drying time, just the actual creation process. And if you use any special products or anything, I list them below so beginners can, see an effect that a certain product gives you. Alrighty. 20 minutes into how long for a video? So hope that you enjoyed it anyways. Wasn't going to edit out my mistakes. I'm going to show it to you. So I'm going to clean up and get ready for the next project. Until then, stay inspired.